Welcome to a new series we're going to do on the channel where we're going to give you the top 10 best tips to get better at Warzone. Whether you've been playing the game since launch or if you're a new player beginning today, this video is going to give you 10 tips that anyone can use. If you enjoy videos like this where we give you the best tips and tricks, and if you enjoy weapon comparisons and weapon guides, subscribe to our channel as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers. The first tip is going to help you move around much quicker, especially if you only have heavy weapons in your loadout. We all know SMGs and pistols allow you to move around the map much quicker than LMGs, sniper rifles and assault rifles. But with some loadouts, for example, if you're using an assault rifle with a sniper rifle, you will be moving quite slow. So if you have a cluster strike or an airstrike inside your inventory, have that in your hands and you can move around just as fast as if you were using a pistol. This is really important if you're trying to make it to a certain destination before your opponent, maybe getting some high ground or getting into cover. This tip could save your life or be the difference on winning or losing a gunfight. The next tip that I've been using quite a lot recently, and it gets me my loadout very fast, is find a buy station when you're landing in and then use a most wanted contract quite close to that buy station. Most wanted contracts at the start of the game are not that contested, and on top of that, no one really wants to go for a most wanted contract at the start of the game. But the best part about it is that no one else has their loadout at this section of the game, so you're not likely to die that fast, especially if you're playing inside quads. It's going to help tremendously towards getting your loadout in terms of the amount of cash you get. If you're playing in quads, you should make sure the best player in your team picks up the contract and everyone else should be trying to protect them. And what that means is if your teammates do die at the start of the game and lose their gulag, you will get them back also. You just need to make sure the person picking up the contract is the person to most likely stay alive. The third tip, and possibly the most important, is make sure you have the best class setups in your loadouts. Making sure you have the correct guns with the best builds at each engagement is very important, and on top of that, knowing what the meta weapons are at the time is going to help you out massively to winning more and more gunfights. This way you'll know what the most accurate guns are so you can land more shots, and you can also know what guns kill the fastest in the game. And if you're not too sure what guns you should be using, we've already got tons of videos on the channel going over best class setups for Warzone Season 1, and we do constantly update these videos, so make sure to subscribe. The next tip is to not shoot enemy targets straight away. If you do see enemies crossing into open areas, that is when you should be taking shots. If it's going to be a difficult shot to land, or you're not too sure if you're going to kill that enemy fully, there's no point in taking a shot. You want to see exactly where it is they're going and how many players in the enemy team there are. If you can see where the enemy team is moving to, you can position yourself better to cut them off and get easier kills. This will also give you some indication on whether or not they're running away from a different team, and that way you can wait so you can third party that fight. Or like I said before, make sure you wait until they cross an open area and then you can get the first knock on the enemy team, and this is usually the most important down so you can push an enemy fight. The next tip is all about stopping power. Not a lot of people know how stopping power actually works. It does increase your damage on your weapon significantly, but on top of that, it also increases the recoil of the gun as well. So what that means is you should only use stopping power in your close range weapons, so maybe your Dynamite pistols, your SMGs, or even your assault rifle if you're using it at close range. What that means is you're going to be less likely to miss your shots because at close ranges you'll be hip firing quite often, especially with an SMG or shotgun, for example. And what that means is you're getting rid of all of the cons of stopping power. Even though I'm not a huge fan of stopping power inside a battle royale, it is extremely useful, especially against more skilled players. If you know an enemy team is really good and you need that extra help just to win the gunfight, stopping power can be a very useful tool. Just a quick bonus tip on stopping power, make sure you put it in your gun straight away. You do not want to carry it around with you, you want to make sure it's already in your gun so you can use it instantly. And on top of that, it allows you to pick up another field upgrade like Dead Silence or even a trophy system. The next tip is a big one around movement overall, and it's slide cancelling. You need to learn how to slide cancel inside Warzone, it's very important. Now, if it is difficult for you, make sure you change your controller settings to tactical and it will make it much easier to slide cancel. Some of the key benefits of slide cancelling is when you're running around the map, make sure you throw in a slide cancel here and there. Not only is it going to make you extremely hard to hit with sniper rifles, because it makes your movement much more unpredictable, it also resets your tactical sprint, allowing you to run faster for longer periods of time. The next tip is always looking for your next piece of cover. When you're traveling around the map, you want to be keeping an eye out for where your next cover would be if an enemy was to shoot you. Now, there might not be any enemies in the vicinity at all, but what you want to make sure is that if you do start getting shot, you do have a plan of where you want to be and where you want to position yourself. So maybe there's a rock or a tree nearby, or maybe even if an enemy's at the top of a building, you want to get on the bottom floor of that building so they can't see you and you're not in their line of sight. Just make sure you're not making yourself an easy target. The next two tips are actually based around close quarters gunfights, and I find myself winning a lot of these gunfights because I do these next two tips. The first one is to make sure you don't always fully play. It's very hard to train yourself to do this because you always want to make sure you've got full armor plates on. If you know an enemy is pushing you and you know exactly where they're coming from, try and get 1 or 2 plates off if you can. If not, just make sure you position yourself perfectly to win that gunfight. The amount of times this catches people off guard is ridiculous. They expect everyone to sit down and start plating. They're not going to expect someone re-challenging them with lower health. A lot of people underestimate the amount of health you get base without any armor, and they start to panic, so don't be one of those players. The next tip that will help you win more close quarters gunfights is swinging the corner first. And what this means is if an enemy is coming around a corner and you know exactly where it is they're coming from, make sure you're the first person to get around that corner as quick as possible. There is a thing inside Call of Duty Warzone called Peeker's Advantage. What that means is there's a delay in time of when you swing that corner, you see the enemy first before they can see you. This is all due to the uploads and downloads to the Call of Duty servers. So there's a split second where you can see your enemy first and they can't even spot you, and this is going to be all the advantage you need to win that gunfight in close quarters. So make sure you practice swinging around corners really fast and shooting your targets. The last and final tip, and probably the most controversial, is to not revive your teammates mid-gunfight. If you know you've got plenty of time to get this revive off, that's perfectly fine, especially if your teammate's been down by a sniper, for example. But if you're mid-gunfight, especially at close range or medium range, you do not want to give your opponents the chance to down more than one of your teammates. So don't revive your teammates until you've cleared out the full enemy team and then start reviving whoever's downed. The amount of times you watch pro players get squad wiped so easily because as soon as they get the first down on an enemy team, the other teammates instantly rush in to help them, and that way that's 2 easy picks for the pro player. And before you know it, half of your team is dead and you're at an instant disadvantage. Make sure you stand your ground, position yourself well, and you can always buy your teammate back later. So there we have it, the top 10 best tips that if you implement, you can get much better at Warzone in your next game. Now, after a year of playing this game, we do have plenty more tips, so if you enjoyed this video, leave us a like and we will be sure to make another one. And also, if you're new to the channel, subscribe as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers. Thank you very much for watching.